Hey guys, the Indian Buckarette here, and today's conversation is with singer-songwriter Kai Wilson, who's currently local to Boston. And I hope you guys enjoy our conversation and let me know in the comments who you want to see
How are
next.
you? It's so good to finally have a chat with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Of course. Ever since my husband and I saw you in a so far show, we've been a huge fan. So this is like a pride moment for me.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you being at the show, and I'm glad you like the music.
Oh, I loved it. We've seen you twice so far.
I love it. I love it. That's
Uh,
awesome.
and like I said, it's so great to have you on, and congratulations on the album. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
But before we get to that good stuff, do you want to give our listeners a little introduction about yourself, a little backstory of where you came from, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Kai Wilson. I'm a folk singer-songwriter currently based in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. Um, I kind of started playing music during the pandemic. Kind of really taught myself how to play the guitar and sing on YouTube when the world kind of shut down. And as an effort to kind of make friends, I attended an open mic night just to kind of play a couple songs and meet some other artists. No other artist showed up to the open mic night. Long story short, no other artist hung around the open mic night, and I ended up playing for about 3 hours. And then the bar was like, "Why don't you come back and play a full paid set?" And
That
that,
is amazing.
bars, an open mic night and a bar gig started just kind of kept snowballing into more and more shows.
That is awesome. Do you know which bar it is? Like, is it in Boston? Because I'm based in Boston.
So it's in Breckenridge, Colorado, is actually where it is, and it's called Rocky Mountain Underground. It's like a
Wow,
half
that is
ski shop, half
amazing.
bar.
That is amazing. Now that you said Colorado, I remember in one of your shows you did say you were living in the mountains. So do you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So when I guess, oh gosh, what is that? 5 years ago now. So the winter before the pandemic happened, I moved to a town called Leadville, Colorado, which is like the middle of nowhere, Colorado, cowboy town, Colorado, the highest elevated city in the U.S., smack dab in the middle of the state, off of the high, like an hour off of the highway, 2 hours outside of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of knew how to like play the guitar a little bit when I moved out there. I'd maybe done a few handful of open mic nights prior. And then when the world shut down, I kind of like really picked it up and ended up trying to go to this open mic night and started in bars like I just said in Colorado, and then bars turned into after parties turned into house parties, and then smaller venue shows, and then opening acts and all sorts of stuff, and it just kind of organically snowballed as I was living out there. And then I came back to Boston. I was living in Boston prior, came back to Boston and like really got hooked up with So Far Sounds. They've been an amazing support system and an amazing platform for me to share my original music and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting like my own headlining shows, started opening for acts coming into town, and it's just been great. And then I kind of scored this, I guess you could call it an album deal. I kind of got a great album deal to record eight of my songs with a full band and stuff, and some other instrumentation, and it's been great. So
That
that's
is
kind of
awesome. I'm so
a little bit
happy
of
for
it.
you, and I'm so glad it came to you, because I'm a huge fan. Two more listens and I can tell you the order of the song. So that,
I love it. That's
and
awesome.
and I'm almost like I know every song, so I'm almost there.
Well, I appreciate you listening and
Of
enjoying it so
course.
much
I
because
mean,
it's
I genuinely do love it. But how did you get into music in the first place?
so I grew up with guitars in the house. My dad plays and sings, and we've always been like a very like music oriented family. My mom's a big music lover. My sister's a music lover, and I've always kind of like had a feeling for guitar because it's just they've
Right.
I've always had them around. And then I'd say when I moved into like my first apartment by myself,
Mm-hmm.
my first solo apartment, I just had a guitar in the apartment. And I've always been a huge music lover. I personally think the guitar is the most beautiful sounding instrument in the world. I don't think there is a more beautiful sound than a
Right.
well played guitar, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's from classical to singer songwriter to basic keys and scales. I just
Right.
think if it is played well, it can really tell stories. And I really always enjoyed telling stories, and I felt like I've always been a very aware, self-aware person as much as possible, as much as anyone can try to be with practicing that kind of stuff. And I've always had a, I've always had an idea of what it is to kind of express myself, and I never really had an avenue to do so.
Right.
And music really allowed me to find that avenue and to put words on paper and to express
Mm-hmm.
feelings and, you know, I guess it would be to like put thoughts on paper and to really kind of dive into myself and reflect and be aware and
Right.
experience gratitude and appreciation all at the same time. It's been great.
That's so true. That's so true. I love that. And you said your dad was playing, gigs all around. Like, does he still do it? Like,
Yeah, so he
yes.
plays shows still. He's in a few bands. He has like his own little trio, and he does some
Mhm.
solo stuff where he plays like his
I
own
love
original
that.
music, and then he's in a cover band that plays a lot of events around the state of New York. I think they've done like Connecticut, maybe a few in Massachusetts. So they've he's played all over. He loves to play and he loves to sing. It's something that me and him kind of really
I love
share as a
that.
father son. It's
Yeah.
been really great for our relationship and for our family, even to say, and it's brought all of us really close together. Some of
Right.
my earliest memories is when I was a baby. He would just play me, the same song over and over again to help me fall asleep, to calm
Oh
me
my
down when I
God.
was stressed out, when I was in the bathtub. Like those are just some of my earliest memories.
Oh my God, that's funny because few of the memories are same similar to me. But my dad doesn't play. He collects music. That's how I got into the craze of music, especially
Cool.
country. So when we were little kids, I have two siblings. So when we used to go to sleep, he used to play the song called "Sleeping Child" by Michael Learns to Rock. And I
Awesome.
still remember those days. Like he just played, and all three of us just knocked out.
Yeah,
We
my dad's
finished.
my dad's go-to song was "Sweet Baby James" by James Taylor.
I love that. That is
So
so cool.
that was
That is
always
so cool.
always a great
I
song.
yeah, I love it when it runs in the family and it continues to generations. I love that.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been really special.
Yeah, of
I've
course.
loved it. Yeah.
And for people who haven't listened to your, songs or anything, how would you describe your sound to them? What can they
Ooh,
expect?
that's always like the $1 million question, right?
Right?
Is like tell people what you sound like. Because it's interesting. I feel like almost don't even know what genre to classify myself in, right? But I would say that I'm more towards like folk and country music, maybe like alternative folk rock. I get a lot of inspiration from guys like Zach Bryan.
Of course.
Yeah, the Lumineers are a huge inspiration of mine.
Mhm.
The Avett Brothers, a band out of Raleigh, North Carolina, are
Right.
a huge inspiration of mine. And through different phases of my songwriting process and through different experiences that I go through phases where I have other artists like guys like John Moreland
Mm-hmm.
or like a Coldplay phase where I kind of get inspiration from all these different bands that I listen to. But my core three, the three that have always been so dominant and so present in my inspiration through that songwriting process are definitely Zach Bryan, Lumineers, and the Avett Brothers.
I love that. Oh my God.
And so I would say that as far as like how my sound goes, it's inspired by those three while also trying to find my own tone and my own
Mm-hmm.
pace and my own cadence, which is really difficult, right? Because you want to mimic your favorite artists as
Artist.
just because of who they are and what they represent and what they sing about and where they find their inspirations. And I like to think that their music lyrically inspires me to kind of sound like them. But funny enough, I've started to not really try to sound like them as much as like really listen to their lyrics and try and figure out where they found the inspiration for their stories and their songs,
Hmm.
which allows me to reflect on my own stories, which is a process that I'm really bad at because it's very vulnerable and can sometimes be
True,
very scary, and sometimes you
true.
don't always like the person that you've been in your life. But those are where like the realest emotions and the realest songs come from. So for me, it's been a very interesting kind of love-hate relationship with songwriting because I love the songwriting process, but I don't always sometimes love reflecting on hard
Right.
times with relationships with maybe my parents or with ex-girlfriends or with friends or whatever, you know. So
True.
it's been an interesting songwriting journey, and I'm madly in love with it,
Uh-huh.
absolutely obsessed.
I can totally see that with the kind of songs you put out. Pretty good. But coming to your album, like what inspired you to create this kind of album?
So I am somebody who started playing music by myself, right?
Hmm.
I did it when I was living alone. I started while I was alone. I got better at it while I was alone, and I used it as kind of an avenue to try and maybe make some friends or put myself out there. And I am not somebody who in a million years would have thought that I would move to Boston and record an album.
Hmm.
I've always been somebody who loved the songwriting process and loved sharing it with my inner circle of 4 or 5 friends who I actually shared the songs with.
Right.
And then my friends were like, "Hey, you should start like just like playing these at your open mic nights, or start like when you get a small gig, like why don't you try throwing one or two in there and just like see how people kind of react to them."
Right.
And then as I was writing songs, people started coming back to open mic nights to see me play my original songs. So what I had was just I have piles and piles of notebooks in my apartment of just songs that I've written. I have
Wow.
hundreds of them, hundreds.
I love
You know,
that.
man, not all of them are great, but for
I
me,
mean,
right?
with
Like,
your voice, you can make anything sound great.
oh,
I'm
come
not
on,
worried
man,
about
you're gonna make me
that.
blush. Um, so when it came time to go through this album process, right, they were explaining to me how we could set a goal and we were gonna reach for the 8 songs,
Hmm.
and they were like, so it's up to you to have 8 songs, whether you want to write brand new songs or if you want to use songs that you've already written, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't have to be anything in particular, but they're your songs, so you
Okay.
get to choose. And so these songs are kind of a the way I tried to go about it was to compile a list of songs that I felt like painted the most broad picture of myself.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? So it's almost like a mirror reflection of me. It's 8 songs that reflect my emotions, who I want to be as a person, who I have been as a person, who I am now, where I want to be, what my energy levels are like, where my sensitivities come from, and where
Right.
my emotional state is, right? Like where my mental health is, and where I am at this time in my life, because
Mhm.
hopefully this is the first of many albums to come, and I want each album to reflect certain periods in my life. So when I go back to listen, I get to reflect on all of these great times and hard times that I've had just living through these songs that I've
Mhm.
worked so hard to write and put together. It's countless hours waking up in 3 in the morning to come sit in my living room and just like
Right.
quietly strum and hum words together because it's just coming to me randomly in the middle of the night. And
Right.
so it's I guess the way I would describe this album is it's an effort to try and paint the broadest picture of who I am as a person
I
within eight
love that.
songs.
I love, freaking love that. And when it came to the title of the album, how did you like decide, Old School Simple Love is gonna be your first debut album? Uh,
Yeah, so Old School Simple Love is the title track of the album. It's also the title of the album. and it was the single that I used to market to campaign the album. We did a whole crowdfunding campaign to raise money for the album. And it was the single that I used to market the album. It's also the first single that I ever really wrote and like played at an open mic night where people came back to see me. And the song was originally written. So I guess whatever. I'll just dive into it. So the song was originally written for my mom and dad because they have been married now for 29 years, and without divulging too many specifics, it has not always been easy for me and my family and stuff. They were young and we had no money, and like it was just a combination of things that created hardship within our family dynamic. But no matter
Yeah.
what had happened in our time as a family and our continuing time as a family, is they always are sticking together, and they always fought their way through, and they always figured out the solutions, and they always just managed to be together through the whole thing. And I was always very inspired by that, and it's something that I was very aware of, right? And it was something that I was very like impressed by. I'm struggling to find the words about it, but nonetheless, it was very inspiring, right? And so I am somebody who, like, I'm like single in my late 20s, living in the
Right.
city, and I'm wanting to find that kind
And
of
love.
person who
Yeah.
will stick by my side through like
Sure.
really hard times, and like always willing to find the solution. So the song is kind of written for what I want as old school simple love, right? Like, which is
Right.
not always like as cute as writing love letters. It's actually like being in the mud and fighting in the
The hard
trenches and
truth.
like being back to back and shedding blood and tears together. Like, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what the song is trying to reflect. When we were trying to do the campaign for the album, we went to raise money. We went to reach a goal of around $12,000.
Wow.
I think we tried to reach a goal of $12,500. And it was over the course. I can't remember the exact amount of months we did it for, but let's just say we went to go do it for 6 months. We ended up raising all of the money within 4 months. So that left us 2 more extra months to either raise additional funds or just start the recording process because we had all the money for it. So I said, well, why don't we keep going? Let's keep trying to raise the money. And 30% of every donation that we get in for the album, let's donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And we ended up over the course of 6 months raising about a little under $14,000 was our total end goal. And we were able to really make old school simple love more than about my mom and dad, and it really became a lot more about a much larger demographic of people, right? It became
Right.
about everybody and wanting to spread old school simple love rather than trying to achieve it, and that actually
Right.
became more important to me than anything else. So, because of what it became for me and for some other people and people that I've, played the song for, and people who were there from the start at open mic nights to seeing it at so far shows in Boston, right? Like, it seemed to me that it was such an important song for me that it earned the right to be the title of the album over the course of 8 songs.
For sure. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
It is so nice. Like it's that song is exactly how you just told the story, and you've done like such a great job in writing that song
Thank
and
you.
telling the message. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Of course. And I would love to know the story behind every song on the album if we had the time, but I really, really want to know the story behind You Won't Find Him, because
Yeah.
that is an incredible song. It just hits you. So what's the story behind that?
So You Won't Find Him is a song. I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe it, right? Um, and I would say that the song You Won't Find Him is about wanting to find a way to relay to somebody that they are safe with me. right? And I think through most people that I've met in their lifetimes have been hurt by somebody, they've been cheated on, they've abused drugs, they've found people to be a very unsafe space, and
Right.
therefore people
Right.
become very guarded and don't feel safe to let themselves almost free, right? They're like
Mhm.
caging themselves up because they're afraid of being hurt, they're guarded, whatever it is.
Right.
And the song You Won't Find Him is an effort of me explaining to somebody like whoever hurt you, you are not going to find that
Mhm.
person in me
Mhm.
because I make it a value of mine and a personal responsibility of mine to try and treat everyone with as much respect and appreciation and understanding as much as possible.
Right.
And so the whole song is about being like, look, like I have my shit, right? Like
Right.
I have things that I struggle with.
Mhm.
I've had people hurt me. I've had my own issues with
Right.
alcohol. I've it's so I it's all being like, look, I know where you are. I know what you're feeling and I know that you're scared, but you are not going to find that person in me, right? So the whole chorus is you won't find him, no, not in me. I'm not the guy who hurt you. He'd regret meeting me.
Me. Yeah.
Don't go
Don't go
looking.
looking.
Yeah, it's not all good. Dig deep enough, you'll find the boy that she hurt. Like, is just kind of like, look, like if you really want to go through the weeds, you'll find that I have shit too.
Right.
And then, you know, oh, I'm trying for that. I know I'm trying to be better for you, for us both. Is kind of like a
I
look.
love it.
There's effort all around, and it's hard, and it's not going to be easy. But if there's any way that I can explain to you that you're going to be safe with me, I hope it's through this song, right? It's
I
it's wanting to
love
be
that.
it's wanting to be somebody's knight in shining armor, so to say. It's kind of my rendition of that.
That is amazing. I love it. Like, where do you find inspirations to write that kind of songs? Because it takes a lot of effort
Yeah.
unless you've been through it. So, where do you find inspirations?
Well, I would say that it took a lot of effort and it took a lot of going through it, right? So it's it's vulnerable
Right.
and you know it's something that I practice a lot. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of self-reflection and it takes a lot of trying to understand somebody else, right?
Right.
And the song
Right.
at that time
Mm-hmm.
was something that somebody in my life needed to hear.
Right.
And you know, it and it's something that I am very scared of myself. I've done it. I've broken somebody's heart. I've multiple I'm sure multiple people, but one in particular I can really, I really just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it was tough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Mm-hmm.
and and it's really scary to think about being somebody's bad guy in their story.
Right. True.
And sometimes you have to be, and sometimes it's necessary to be, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's kind of a it's kind of an interesting reflection point.
True.
So that song took a lot of self-reflection, and it took a
Mm-hmm.
lot of understanding somebody else, and it took a lot of understanding other people's stories and understanding that trauma and relationship trauma and wanting to be guarded is not always necessarily your fault or somebody's
Right.
fault or their fault. It's
Right.
sometimes just something that happens, and it's okay to go through that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
about understanding that it is okay and it doesn't make anyone a bad person or
Right.
anything. So it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of brainstorming. I'm sure I have a whole notebook full of scrapped words of just trying to put that song together. So it wasn't a one-time thing, I'll tell you that much.
What was the hardest song you've ever written, which is on the album?
On the album,
Mm-hmm.
uh, probably the hardest song I wrote was "Ride with Me," which is the first song.
First song.
Um, Mostly because it's a happy song or a more upbeat song, and happy upbeat songs are much harder to write than sad depressing songs.
I love
So,
the reason.
so it's I would definitely say that's the hardest one to write. I think
Mhm.
the if the hardest one to write was probably Dear Dreamer. Because that took a whole lot of me being an asshole to somebody to put those
Oh.
words together. It's more or less an apology and self-reflection song than it is anything else. But that's where the best songs come from, and that's where like a lot of my inspiration comes from guys like Zach Bryan, Lumineers, Avett Brothers, John Moreland, like all these songwriters who are really just paving the way. And speaking plainly, it's for me, it almost feels like I'm trying to do my part for like men's mental health awareness, right? Is creating expression in my songs because, as a man, societal wise, we are not always expected to be so vulnerable and
Right.
sensitive. And sometimes we are actually pushed aside when it comes to a lot of those things. And so the hardest part for me, to tell you the truth, is actually just releasing the songs than it is writing them, right? Because I don't know what people are going to think. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what they're going to think they understand versus what they don't understand. And it's like a very vulnerable thing to do.
Right.
Very scary to kind of like, I mean, I have songs written in notebooks that not a single person will hear except for me.
Oh.
They won't hear them, and no one will hear them. Maybe one day. I don't know. I guess never say never. But right now,
Right.
I have like a
Right.
notebook that has like a lock on it. That it's like
Wow.
it's it's an
Wow.
interesting process to songwrite.
Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it. You're so true to, writing songs and music. Like when someone talks to you, that's what, you give off, and that's what I love about your music and this album in particular. So thank you for that. Thank you for being so genuine.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to be genuine.
Of course. And with that, do you want to sing a song?
Yeah, I could sing a song.
Let's do it.
Do you want to hear one in particular, or do you want me to just pick one, or
You can pick one from the album.
one from the album?
Wait, why don't you sing Come Home? That's my other favorite song, so just sing Come Home.
Okay, I can do
While I
that.
have you on.
Okay. Thought I was gonna have a guitar pick, but this will have to do. All right. This is "Come Home" off my album, Old School Simple Love. I don't wanna talk. Hey, I don't wanna speak. I've got poison in my veins and blood running thin as I slur the words I scream. I know it's been tough. You think it's been easier for me. I know you've been yearning, I know you've been hurting, but I can't even sleep. So won't you come home, darling? Feel so alone, darling. I don't wanna risk losing you. So won't you come home, darling? I need you close, darling. It's hard to cry when you're taught not to. And I can't rest until I'm holding you. I know I fell far, but I can't even see. My visions felt blurry, I'm overcome with worry as it's getting hard to breathe. And I try to speak up, I say your words are hurting me. I tell you what I'm wanting, I tell you where I'm struggling, and your help is all I need. So won't you come home, darling? Feel so alone, darling. And I don't wanna risk losing you. So won't you come home, darling? I need you close, darling. It's hard to cry when you're taught not to. And I can't rest until I'm holding you. So won't you come home, darling? I feel so alone, darling. And I don't wanna risk losing you. So won't you come home, darling? I need you close, darling. It's hard to cry when you're taught not to. And I can't rest until I'm holding you.
Oh my God, like I said, every time I listen to your voice.
Well, thank you for letting me play one.
Of course, are you kidding me? And like I have a couple of more questions
Yeah,
before I
yeah.
let you go. But when it comes to touring, I like I said, I've seen you twice, and you play all around Boston. So do you have like a favorite venue that you've played
A
so far?
favorite venue.
Hmm.
Um, that's a good question. So I guess as far as venues go, I'd say probably one of my favorite places that I've played is Rockwood Music Hall in New York City.
Hmm.
Just because the crowd is always so engaged and so much fun, and I get to travel, so it feels really
Right.
exciting. So it's always like a ton of fun.
Hmm.
Um, One of my other favorite venues, I guess venue is kind of a hard word for it, but I played a house show once on a back porch where they took the rails down and it was like standing
Wow,
over a backyard full of people.
that is
And
amazing.
I felt like I was like on top of the world playing there. And then, any rooftop show that I've ever played is always just such an amazing experience.
That is amazing. I actually saw you in one of the backyard shows for so far.
So much fun.
Yeah, it is so cool.
So
It
much
was actually my birthday. I celebrated my birthday by coming to a sofa show,
fun.
and
Well, that's a great way to spend your birthday is to see a so
for
far
sure,
show.
for sure.
That's
And
awesome.
do you have like a dream venue that you want to perform at?
Oh, Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison,
Oh my
Colorado.
God, I've done I've done over 80 interviews, and out of that, 70 of them says Red Rock.
I mean, it is just
It is
it's,
incredible.
you feel like you're on a different planet being there. I couldn't imagine playing a show
Mhm.
there.
That was such an easy answer for you. So
I
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully one
I have
day.
like I have like dreams about it. Like I
That is
just am
amazing. See, you're
obsessed.
already manifesting, so you're already halfway there.
I know. I see myself there. I'm going to see myself there, and I will continue to see it until it
Right,
happens.
right. I love that. I love that. And do you have, so when you play a show, do you have like a pre-show ritual? Like, do you do anything before you get on stage?
Yeah, I usually have a panic attack, a couple glasses of wine or a few beers, and then I'm good to go.
I love that. I love that. I didn't
Yeah,
expect that.
it's I get nervous every time before I go on
Mhm,
stage. Every
mhm,
time, every single time.
mhm.
And I hope I continue to get nervous every single time because it means I care and it means I love it. And,
Right, that is
I
so
think
true.
having those nerves is something that's very healthy, and I think it's
Right.
really good to put yourself out there and continue to cross boundaries. And they're not as bad as when I first started playing, but I definitely still get scared to go up there every time. So.
Mhm, mhm. I love that. I love that. And do you have any future shows coming up? Do you want people to know where you're playing next, or?
Yep. So I have a house show in Allston, Massachusetts, June 22nd, and that's
Mhm.
like the next one on the books.
I live in Alston. I should look it up.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the details.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I'll just send you the details, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be
Hmm.
really fun. That's the next one on the books, and then I'll probably have a handful of so far shows coming up in June and July that I'll post
Awesome.
all over my social medias.
Awesome. Awesome. That's amazing. I love that. And Kai, during the process of releasing the album, like what would you say is your biggest learning experience so far?
My biggest learning experience. My biggest learning experience was probably practicing patience and appreciation
I love that.
through the whole recording process and through the
Hmm.
whole excitement of releasing an album and raising money and all sorts of stuff. I was always very like, let's get this done so we can get it out. Let's get this done so I can start talking to people. Let's get this recorded and released. Like let's just get it done. Let's do it. Let's like I kept wanting to book sessions and kept wanting
Right.
to work late and have my producer work on things right away and
Hmm.
something that I constantly had to remind myself was like, look, like this is the journey.
Right.
This is it. Like this is the journey. This is what you want to be doing is just
Hmm.
recording and getting rough takes and messing things up and working late nights in the studio, doing early mornings in the studio,
Hmm.
calling out sick at work so that you can go do days in the studio, right? Like this is the journey. Like don't be so quick to rush through this process. Like enjoy
Right.
the process cuz
Right.
the hardest part about the album was I clicked a button to release it and then it was done. And I was like,
Right.
all right, all of that work
Hmm.
gone, right? But it's
Hmm.
not. It's on iTunes and it's on Spotify and
Right.
like it's the memories of like laughing in the studio and being exhausted and like like microwaving meals when I got home from the studio late at night,
Right.
like listening to takes in my car right after studio sessions and screaming at the top of my lungs and like
Hmm.
calling my best friend like at 1 in the morning to tell him how excited I was, right? Like those are what I want to take away from that experience, right? So it was a lot of not it was a lot of patience and appreciation for the process and the
I love
journey
that.
because that's what any of it is, right? Is
Right.
the journey of appreciating it for what it is.
True.
So
True. I love
I would
that. That is
say
so
those
nice.
were the biggest learning experiences.
That is so nice. And talking about work, you are a you work in construction by the day and you're a musician by night. I love that, tagline for you. But
Yeah.
your experience in construction, how has it helped you grow as an artist that you are today?
I'd say it just makes me want to be a famous artist sooner rather than later so I can get out of construction.
I love that. Did not expect that.
Yeah. No,
Good.
it's really great. It's
Mm-hmm.
really great. And,
Uh-huh.
the company that I work for has been nothing but supportive for my
Mm-hmm.
music career and they all listen like all the guys on the job sites listen to my songs while they're working. So when I'm walking around, they all sing
Mm-hmm.
the songs and like it's it's been a really great experience just getting to know all the guys that I work with in
Right.
construction. We do a lot of really heavy duty construction. We're doing like a lot of high rise construction, primarily in Cambridge right now. So it's a lot of big work. So we spend a lot of
Mm-hmm.
time with each other.
Right.
And as far as what it's done, as far as helping me as an artist, is it's just continuing to push my work ethic, right?
Right.
Continuing to push me to work harder and harder as I need to. In construction, it also needs to reflect in music. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big you
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of people are like, how do you do 50-50? 50% work, 50% music. And I tell them every time, I'm like, actually, everything gets 100%. Right. So there's no split in the time and there's no split in the effort. Everything gets
Right.
100% and everything will always get 100%.
That
So
is so true. I love
it's
that.
good.
I love that. I love that. And before I let you go, I have a little game. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, it's called this or that. So basically, I give you two options and you just need to pick one.
Okay. Oh
Okay?
boy. Here we go.
The first one, writing a song or recording a song?
Writing a song.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah, easily.
The second one, lyrics or melody?
Lyrics. Oh, yeah, lyrics. Lyrics.
Pre-show or post-show?
Oof. pre-show.
Even with the panic attacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, releasing music or playing shows?
Playing shows
Oh wow, I love that.
all
Okay,
day.
small intimate venues or large arenas?
Small intimate venues.
I love that. Especially with the kind of songs you write,
Yeah.
it just takes it to another level.
I started doing in some of my so far shows, I've started unplugging for the last song. I play Old School Simple Love completely unplugged. Just
Wow,
no
that is
microphone, no nothing.
amazing.
And
That is
it makes
amazing.
it so special.
It does, I'm sure. And headlining a show for your um, headlining your own show or opening for your favorite artist.
Opening for my favorite artist all day. The second Zach Bryan calls me, I'm quitting my job.
I'm sure that day is not far.
Oh, I don't know.
The last one, writing a song for your dream artist or your dream artist writing a song for you.
Dream artist writing a song for me.
And you cut it. Hey, Zach, if you're listening.
Yeah. If you're happening to listen to this.
That reminds me, you do have a tattoo of his album, right?
Yeah, yep.
You showed it to me in one of the.
And that's the Lumineers right there, and that's the Avett Brothers right here.
That's amazing. I love that. I actually saw Avett Brothers opening for Luke Combs, and my husband and I got drenched in Gillette.
That's
It was
awesome.
still amazing.
I've seen the Avett Brothers countless times. I've seen them at Red Rocks. I've seen them at intimate,
Wow.
small little theaters in New York City. I've
I
tried. I've
love
seen them.
that.
I saw them play at a huge arena in Raleigh in their hometown for New Year's
Uh-huh.
Eve.
I love that. I love
Amazing.
that. Yeah. Did you get a chance to see Zach Bryan last year?
Yes, I
Did
saw
you?
him in New York. I saw him the year before in I think New York again. I saw him at Pier 21 or
Hmm.
something like that. I've seen him. I've seen him a couple times,
That's awesome.
and
I
now
didn't get
now
a
now
chance
you can't
to.
even get to him.
You can't.
It's impossible.
Luckily, my husband and I got a chance to see him last year as well
What'd you
in New
think?
York.
What'd you think?
Oh my God, I want to go
Oh,
back.
oh yeah.
So if you've seen Forest Hills, did you see it in Forest Hills?
Yep.
Yeah, you know that metal benches, the way they were stomping on it. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's my favorite part.
So cool.
That was amazing. That was incredible. And thank you so much, Kai, for, taking the time to talk to me and talking
Thank
about
you.
your album. I genuinely love it. And I wish you nothing but the best. Do you want to add anything that I might have missed out that you want people to know about?
I guess, whenever I'm given an opportunity to potentially speak to a larger audience or to a different audience or whatever it is, my whole thing is support your local artists. A lot of these young up and coming artists, people who play for nobody, they work
Right.
really hard for their opportunities
Hmm.
and they also sound really good. I mean, even if you go to a local so far show, you actually may end up finding one of your new favorite artists ever.
Right. Right.
And you know, it sometimes only costs $8 to go see a local artist who is working really hard for their opportunities versus going seeing someone like, I'm not hating on this. I think she's really great, but the amount of money I saw people spend on Taylor Swift tickets for her Eras tour, like
Insane.
some of those costs you've seen in the headlines, like you could go see like there are some female artists in Boston, like, Gianna, Kayla Earhart, Audrey Creevy, like all of these female artists who are playing these so far shows and their own headlining shows at local venues who are just nuts, insane songwriters.
Right.
And they put their heart and soul into their craft, and it only costs $10 to go see them,
Right.
and
Right.
they work really hard for their opportunities. So my whole thing is, support local artists. It's really, really good for them. It's really, really good for the local community, and
Right.
you never know when you could be giving someone their dream opportunity. So,
That's so true. I love that.
so I say support local artists. Follow their Instagrams.
Yeah, talking about Instagram, do you want to plug in your Instagram?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram at Kai Wilson underscore official. That is KAIWILSON underscore official.
Awesome.
And I post shows, new music coming up. I have a new single. You heard it here first. We've got a new
Yeah.
single coming out in July. And I'll
So
be posting sneak peeks and previews and release dates and all sorts of stuff for upcoming shows, new music, and everything you can think of on anything from there. So,
awesome. I love that. And good luck. I'll maybe see you in a show very soon. So
I hope so. I hope to see
yeah,
you there.
for sure, for
Thank you for
sure.
having me too. This
Of
has been a ton
course.
of fun. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I'm so glad.